Okay, thank you very much. All right, so this is the start of the governance committee meeting on REAC. It is, 5:36 on the 27th of August. And, I'm Lydia Tong, I'm the chair. Other members online are Megan and Conley is here, and she's going to be doing the transcribing. Just go around, I'll just have you introduce yourselves. You start? Go ahead.
Sure. Drew Amin, Vice President CFO of REAP.
Margie Smith, former Governance Committee Chair.
Audrey Tannen, District Director for Senator Liz Kruger, and a resident of Island House.
Melissa Wade, REAP board member.
Oh, that's me, Laura Sacco, Deputy General Counsel.
Fantastic, and I introduced the other members, so sitting here is Conway, and then online is Megan. All right, so we're gonna dive into the, conflict of interest policy that incorporates, is it incorporates code of ethics?
Yes.
Is it one document?
It's the code of ethics.
It's
incorporates
one,
them.
yeah. So, we actually have, we have Morris's feedback. Did they have anything?
It's just more.
I'm sorry, Lydia, can you either move the microphone closer to you or speak up? Paper
Sure.
moving is very difficult to hear you.
Apologies.
Increase the volume, hang on.
How's that go? There you go. All right, can you hear me now, Diane?
That was Megan who said that.
I'm sorry?
Is it better?
It is better, but just be careful. Either the papers are covering the microphone or you're not close enough. So if you want the recording to pick you up properly, you have to articulate and be
Okay.
loud.
Okay.
It seems to be.
So then, apparently I'm not loud enough. Is
Can we
there,
increase our sound
Mhm.
on our part?
yeah. Is this at max right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will use my teacher voice. How's that?
We need to increase the
Okay.
computer volume? Okay.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to go over Morris's first, and I know that Melissa has an issue. Was there any other issues that anybody knows about in terms of feedback from the board on the Code of Ethics, conflict of interest policies that you know about, Lada?
Melissa today provided this comment regarding gender-neutral language that I believe we need to incorporate.
Okay, great. Okay, so that was it, Melissa? So as we go through the entire document and address Morris's stuff, we will also try and address the gender neutral at the same time, okay? All right, so
Is
let's
someone
do it.
going to be live editing this as we go? How is this gonna
I
work?
got you covered right here.
Conway
Okay,
is live
wasn't sure.
editing as we go. So
Okay.
he is actually, you have that screen, right? Conway, is that your screen?
This is the screen from this computer?
Yep.
I'm wondering, I don't know. I'm
Yes.
hoping.
No, I'm saying it is.
It is.
Okay.
Megan, can you see the document on?
Yep, I can see it. I just
the-
wasn't sure if it was
Okay.
just for viewing or if we were doing edits as we went. That's all I was just clarifying.
Yep.
But I
Okay.
can see it.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna read through Morris's concerns. So while we're doing anything, before or after Morris's concerns, we'll just, review it for gender neutral, okay? All right,
Or anything else that comes up?
or anything else that comes up, right? Okay,
If we see something here that we think should get changed or addressed, we bring it
Yeah.
up now. as
yeah,
we go
bring
through.
it up as we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to do things as we go. Okay, first it's, so his concern was, first, it's important that the Code of Ethics conforms with Public Officers Law and Codex Regs. I think the standards should be identical to those contained in the Public Officers Law 74. I don't know that we need to restate the standards. We could simply defer directly to the law. It would be good for the attorneys to confirm that the very detailed conflicts policy aligns with all codes, regs, and guidances. I had actually asked, but I didn't get any response from Morris because outside counsel provided feedback. So did he
No,
Provide
there was
any
no other
feedback?
comments.
Okay,
I
he
think he's
didn't,
satisfied with the comments. that
he's
provided.
satisfied?
I mean, I would assume because he didn't respond.
Okay, so I'm gonna read through outside counsel's statement, and then we'll decide whether or not to do anything, okay? So REAC's existing code of ethics from 2010 generally tracks the language of the statute. Authority's budget office model code of ethics does not track the language of the statute. We retain the language in the code of ethics that tracks the statute. The governance committee asked us to incorporate relevant language from the ABO model in addition to what already exists, and we have done that. The board has discretion to change and remove items in the code of ethics that come from the ABO model that aren't required by law. Item 1 through 9 of the Code of Ethics are taken directly from the Public Officers Law, POL, Section 74, and match the existing 2010 policy. The only changes to these sections come through an addition of directors to officers and employees as listed in the statute, but this is required by Public Authorities Law, Section 2828, 1D, which mandates the Board of Public Authority adopt as a minimum a code of ethics applicable to each director, officer, and employee, which includes the requirements of the Public Officer, Section 74. The other items covered are not necessarily required by the statute, with the exception of item 13, which references Section 73(8)A of Public Authorities Law, or POL, Public Office,
Public officers law.
and is based on the code guidance. Item 10 in the existing 2010 policy, and the governance committee asked us to keep it. Items 11 and 12 come from the ABO model code of ethics, so these items could be discussed and revised or removed by the board if it wishes. So the things that we,
And attorney was further specific.
so the thing
Don't
is,
distribute it anywhere, please.
so what he's saying,
Yeah, yes. Return it.
the governance committee specifically requested item 14, but it's at the board's discretion to determine whether they would like to include this in the policy. So what he's saying is everything but 11 and 12 and 14, items 11, 12, and 14 are per the law. Where's 11, 12, and 13?
No, from
Right, so
you.
I think,
Huh?
I kind of agree with Morris's overall statement that we shouldn't be as inclusive of the language from the law in our policy and just refer to it, similar to how we did the governance bylaws. Because as the laws change, then we are in compliance instead of having to continually go back to the document and then update them for changes that have been made. So, and it would also like reduce the lengthiness of this document as well.
Okay. So it says 1 through 9. So what we could do is, if you want to reduce this, we could say what kind of language do you recommend for 1 through 9? Do we just want to collapse 1 through 9 to say it's taken directly from, referring directly to Public Officers Law and ABO and COLIG? What kind of language do you think would suffice to do that, if you want to collapse it?
But do we need to collapse it? If you look at the standards 1 through 9, they're not that lengthy. If you go to the Code of Ethics policy.
Well, 11 through 14 were additions.
Yeah, so 11 to 14 is what we should be addressing. If you want to collapse 1 through 9, that's the question, Megan, is that what you're saying? Should we collapse 1 through 9? That's what I heard. I don't know whether or not that's what you actually intended for me to hear.
No, that's not necessarily what I was saying. I'm just saying, like, where we have very specific requirements that are just repetition of Public Officers Law, I don't think we need that. I think we can just refer to it as per public officers law section. We've here are the,
I think the answer from our outside counsel was exactly that the Public Authorities Law, Section 2821(1)D, requires us, the public authority, to adopt at a minimum a code of ethics, which includes the requirements of public officers, Section 74. If we just make a reference to this law and they're not spelled out, then you have to read this. I would rather leave this, and I think these are not repetitive. I think our outside counsel made sure that new provisions that are borrowed from the Code of Ethics do not repeat what is in 1 through 9. Alternatively, we can just accept the entire model Code of Ethics from Authorities Budget Office and not repeating if you want to fast track. But that's the answer from our outside counsel, that the policy that REAC should adopt, a public authority should adopt, at minimum, a code of ethics applicable to each director, officer, and employee, which includes the requirements of public officers, Section 74. That's exactly 1 through 9 that are copied without actually neutral gender language, because the law wasn't amended to reflect that requirement for anti-discrimination to use the gender neutral language. But we can make changes for this. But in essence, we have to follow the standards as they outlined in the Public Officers Law, Section 74.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is we just leave it and then fix the language?
I mean, I think we should, yes, because these first 9 paragraphs, 1 is removed and then 10 is added, they are basically copied from the Public Officers Law in its entirety, the entire section.
I'm just seeing this now for the first time, but it doesn't seem as if there's any question about the content of what's in these
Yes, because that's the law.
It's how you want
It's
it.
just how we want to
Okay.
say it.
Okay,
Yeah, this is
so
how
rose
I-
by any other name.
Actually, I've got just a
Unless
question.
there's something about the content.
Yeah, I see, like, for some reason in this version it says rule with respect to conflict of interest. And here's the thing we kept running into. The one that says no director, officer, blah, 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 may have any interest, financial or otherwise, direct or indirect, or engage in any business transaction, blah, 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 which is in substantial conflict with the proper discharge of his duties.
Which part?
Always,
Paragraph.
it's just,
It's actually crossed out.
Oh,
it was put in and then crossed out.
Oh.
But it also, it shows up on, when you get into like number
yeah, we have a,
5 about the
yes,
conflict
that's
of interest.
exactly why it was.
And here's where we always have had a problem when I was on the board.
Mhm.
Negotiating the ground leases,
Mm-hmm.
the board has to approve it. There's a direct financial
Yeah.
transaction that implicates every director. And that's a conflict. So
Mhm.
is there some way we can say, either get,
I thought the
board
resolution
out-
of that was that you had to identify your conflict.
Mhm.
And that if if there is a majority of people or some sort of impact to quorum related to conflict, that conflict can be waived by the ethics officer. I mean, I've seen that on other public authorities too, where they have quorum issues if too many people abstain for
we'll have
conflict
a quorum issue
purposes.
every time because, yeah, but 5
Right,
of
but if
the,
but I'm saying it gets waived because of a quorum issue if the conflict is identified and documented prior. You,
Lydia, what happened?
you can have a statement in your voting that, hey, yes, we acknowledge that there's a conflict, however, no action could potentially be taken. So we're waiving that conflict.
Is that what happened the last time? That there was a ground lease negotiation?
I think we experienced it where we're exiting Mitchell-Lama.
well, we were exiting Mitchell-Lama,
Yes.
there was, and there was yes and no. One, we had, the Rivercrest people had to abstain from the vote. When Eastwood came out, David didn't have to abstain from the vote, so we just kind of did it on a whim each time.
Mhm.
But it just doesn't seem to me that if the majority of the people have to waive a conflict, that we ought to be in the business of doing that transaction. We should maybe say, the board doesn't have to approve a ground lease. It's between the city and the state, and the board stays out of it.
Oh, no, it's our ground leases.
I know, it's our ground leases, but every one of
Yeah.
us has a conflict.
Yeah, but the thing is,
But it's-
what we have to
I
do
don't
is,
think
we
it
have to,
would-
we have to
But
do.
it shouldn't be just because there's, I mean, to me, you can either waive it if there's a conflict or you don't. It shouldn't be that some people who have a conflict when it's their building, they should waive it for them, but when it's everybody, then they don't have to
Well, I
waive
think
it.
it had to do with renters and owners, probably, in the state
Yeah.
that was allowed to stay. I mean, it's a little bit
Well-
different. But you said that, you know.
Yeah,
there
but-
are
but-
people
But
that
also
are
that, it
probably-
also depends on the
They were coming
composition of
out
the
of it.
Hey,
board
hold on
at
a
the
second,
time.
people are talking over each
So
other,
it-
wait, hold on a second, stop, okay.
Excuse me?
Margie, you done? Margie, you done saying what you were saying?
Yeah, I want to hear what everybody else has
Okay,
to say.
so Megan, what are you saying, I'm sorry? I just don't want people to talk over each other,
Yeah.
because if you
Well,
don't,
you're already
I
doing
don't
that in
hear
that room
anything.
as it is, so I don't know how I'm supposed to identify I need to speak, like, sorry.
Well, that's why
Um,
I'm stopped everybody, so I can hear what you're saying, Megan.
What I was
Oh,
saying
can you-
is, your example, Margie, is very situational to the composition of the board at the time of that action. So I don't think that changing a global document for one specific potential issue is, or transaction is necessary. Because if a certain transaction like that were to come to the board now, there may not be a
Yeah.
conflict based on who's on the board. So I don't
But
know what, this
wait,
is to cover global issues, and we can handle those things as they come up.
We're renegotiating the ground lease right now for the whole island. So every resident of the island that's on the board will have a conflict, which means you won't have a quorum, which means.
I think the master list for the land, for the entire island,
Okay,
wouldn't
hold
be
on.
like direct financial.
Hold
Oh,
on,
it
hold
would be
on.
very direct. Are you kidding? Our ground rent will go up.
Hold on. Melissa,
Yeah, it's a long story.
So I think what Megan was trying to say is that just because there's a conflict, which you disclosed, I mean, it says at the end of 5, might reasonably tend to conflict with the proper discharge
Right.
of his or her official duties.
Right.
And so I think what we're saying is, do we think we can still properly discharge our duties? And I would argue likely yes, especially when it's open forum, it's something that we've acknowledged, we kind of all know where we're at, and there's a lot of sunshine, and so I guess that's what I would argue. Yes, there's a conflict, yes, we're disclosing it, they're talking about the idea of waiving it if there's the number to do so, and again, at the end of the day, is it, can you properly discharge your official duties?
Well, I think my official duty as a board member would be to get the most revenue I can in a ground lease from for REAC.
Maybe,
And as the person paying the ground lease on the other side, I want to give you the least I can give you.
I mean, yes,
I mean,
and I would say that's really simplistic, because getting like the maximum amount of dollars isn't always the down the road best thing for everybody. So that's why I feel like it's a yes and.
Also, I feel like that's more of an attenuated conflict, because anything that we do as residents of Roosevelt Island is potentially a conflict when we are voting, like every single vote that we take as board members for Roosevelt Island could be potential. So I don't think that that's the type of conflict that we're trying to identify with the code of ethics here.
Like, if I don't live in your building, but raising your ground lease so high that the majority of your neighbors would have to move out, as a Roosevelt Islander, I would not love that. I would not see that as a win for the board, even though I'm not the one. Does that make sense? That's what I'm saying, like, it's not that simple.
all I'm saying is we're constantly having these conflicts, and we constantly pick and choose, well, you don't have to vote this time because, you have to waive or abstain this time because it affects you, but then you don't have to another time. Like with Dave, yes, he was a renter, but they negotiated that last program.
Yeah.
So they negotiated how much
Right.
rent he was gonna be paying and whether it was gonna,
Right.
so he was right in the middle of it. By the way, I don't think we should have to, I agree that we should stay in. I just wish the wording would say something that didn't make it sound like, we were doing something in violation of it.
So I think Melissa just pointed.
Even if we put in the words, or at least disclose, or something like,
Yes, there is actually a portion that you have to disclose the interest in this conflict of interest policy. We already have this disclosure language.
Can I ask Melissa, only because I remember you were on the treasurer of the Main Street Theater, didn't this come up when you became a board member? Did you
I
have to-
stepped down.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Stepped down
if it
from
was
the
a
industry
conflict.
theater, so like, And then, because of that, I couldn't vote on anything related to Main Street Theater on the board for 2 years. I think those 2 years are up. But, yeah, I.
Now, why couldn't you just stay on and say, I'm disclosing?
She could have.
But they didn't let her.
They didn't let her, or you
Not.
No, they.
I didn't want to have a conflict,
Right.
Right, no, I recognize.
the appearance of conflict.
The
Right.
appearance of
Yeah, so
conflict.
I made the choice to cut the appearance of conflict. So I stepped down
See,
on
but you
every
didn't
board.
get an opinion from the ethics?
No,
Oh, 'cause I got one when I was on the River Course Board, and they said you have to step down from River Course, so don't take the position.
Oh, from the River Cross Board.
Right.
That one I can do.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
I
because I
just think
also, I mean, I
money-
also stepped down from the Life Frames Board. So I stepped down from the Life Frames Board, I stepped down from the Main Street Theater Board, I stepped down from boards because
I did too.
the, both organizations apply for PPF. So that would have been a conflict.
Okay.
So, I felt ethically that I needed to step down.
Instead of just,
Nobody
wait,
told me.
why didn't you just stay on and waive the voting when it affected that organization? Abstain from a vote on it.
I thought it would be cleaner. I just thought it would be cleaner if I just stepped down.
Okay.
And I also feel that my perspective on all of the organizations on the island, to the extent that I have, knowledge of it, should be, I should have the ability to talk about it, at least. My voice should be heard on those organizations.
Oh.
As opposed to not talking about those organizations, not putting forth my expertise, prior expertise, or, so, I just thought that was really important.
Just wanted to point it out, if you guys are okay
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, I also agree with Melissa and Conway. Anything that the board is voting on,
Mhm.
there's a financial impact to it.
I agree.
But
Even
everything,
outside of the ground lease.
Yeah.
But-
It's just that ground lease is such a big one that's
Yeah.
coming up.
yeah, I mean,
Just get that
maybe,
stuff.
is there any way that we can actually put language in about the ground lease? Because the ground lease is gonna come up. It's always gonna come up. Not every year, but it's gonna come
Well,
up.
every 99 years.
Yes, I don't think we should.
We're not gonna be around.
99, is the ground lease for 99 years?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
1969 to
And then we're back
1960.
No, the master lease, that's the master lease, 99 years,
Yeah.
right,
not the
Yes, we
ground
know.
lease. Well,
I
you're
don't
Well,
think
the-
we
saying
should
ground
be
lease.
putting
The
it.
ground lease is our master lease, like when the master lease gets decided, part of that decision is what's the ground lease gonna be for each building, as part of the negotiations.
So I'm sorry, I missed the first, which provision were you specifically talking
Well,
about?
there was a little note that
no.
was put in and
Oh,
crossed
I
out,
see.
but then it also said it on number 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think to go back to Megan's point, I think when crafting policies that will be broad enough to cover all foreseen and unforeseen circumstances that we can't even imagine at this point, we have the procedures in the back on page 6, which talk about recusal and abstention for the appearance of impropriety or conflict. And we have applied those, as Lydia just mentioned, when was there even appearance of a conflict, she stepped down, and I think we've been pretty good at doing that, and we have that procedure outlined in the document to address these types of scenarios.
But do we want to explicitly say about the advent of the ground lease or master lease, or what do you want? No?
So that was my argument to say, we don't need to specifically mention a
You
scenario.
don't need to
Okay.
mention any
All right.
specific
Right.
document.
All right, I just wanna make
scenario.
sure.
Just
you
talking
can't be
about
fair and impartial, you can
general.
recuse yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, we are a public benefit corporation, not just public authority. We're a public benefit corporation, and we should be benefiting the entire community, not just ourselves, but an entire community. And that's why we wanted resident board members. And we fought really hard to get resident board members because it's a public benefit corporation. Okay, so, all right, so that's my 2 cents on that. So, do we need to go, so is the consensus we're gonna leave 1 through 9, or 1 through 10? Is it 1 through 9 or 1 through 10?
I think we should leave 1 through 9 as written here, because when you look at the New York Public Officers Law, Section 74, the Code of Ethics, as it's written, the statute itself, it reads, each of those is identical with one exception, that it says no officer or employee of a state agency, and then it goes on to say whatever it's gonna say. We added no director, officer, or employee. So we added the directors into this, into each provision. So we should leave that, I think, as it's written.
Okay, I agree with that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Any neutral language that you wanna change?
Yeah, anywhere that it's gendered, make it neutral.
Okay, let's go through it and make sure we do it right now,
I
okay?
think maybe the language we can fix ourselves, because
Yeah.
instead of for,
Yeah, exactly.
it
You
will
can
say
do a-
either there or once.
Search, find.
Yeah, I think we
replace.
just like, we won't,
All
don't
right.
need to spend time on this. We'll
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
just-
an easy
I
search
just
and
wanna make sure.
replace.
Yes,
Yes,
Okay, can you search and replace?
her is a little harder, because it's part of several words, but you can.
I can do
it's
that,
not hard.
I can do this later after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so we'll do a global change of that.
And-
Yeah, Lada will do it, everybody heard it, Lada's doing it, thank you very much,
All right.
Lada, I appreciate it. All right, so, now we're talking about items 11 and 12. So let's go through 11, 12, and 14, right?
Yeah.
So 11, 12, and 14. 11 specifically says,
And 10 we're keeping.
10 we're keeping, right? Yes, 10 we're keeping?
Yes, so I just, I also printed the model, the actual ABO model code of ethics. You have the copy, so you can compare this. What we have under number 11 corresponds to number 7 on the code of ethics. Code of ethics law.
Okay. Okay, so we did add, we changed that a little bit, it's not a cut and paste. We just added officers as opposed to directors and employees.
So we can check with appellation, direct including officer, board members, employees. So instead of authority, there's change to the corporation without bias and shall support the corporation's mission to the fullest. So the only change here, we replaced authority with the word corporation, because we use corporations throughout.
And we added in the word officers at the beginning. So we just keep it?
Yes,
All right. 12, does it have a corresponding?
it's, yes, it's number 8 on the ABO code of ethics, code of ethics. It's the same. Direct employees shall not use corporation property instead of authority property, including equipment, telephones, vehicles, computers, or other resources, or disclose information acquired in the course of the official duties in a manner inconsistent with state or local law or policy and the corporation's missions and goals. It just mirrors this section number 8. Instead of word authority, we have the word corporation. It's all the same. So
All right,
we can
14,
keep it if you want.
let's keep it. Unless there are any objections, we're keeping it.
Yes.
Okay, 14.
Well, do we have any language about like consequences, let's say for non-compliance?
Yeah, I think it's at the end.
Okay.
There is like, it's violations. Violations, you can be fined, suspended, removed from the office in the manner provided by law.
Okay,
It's violations. Section.
and then 14, so we're skipping 13.
13, the other kind are not necessarily with the section number 13, which you referenced. Okay, new edition is number 13, and is based on Committee of Ethics and Lobbying in Government Guidance. That's a new edition, which does not exist in ABO guidance, and previously did not exist in our,
Number 13, we're saying?
yes, that's for per diem. Yes, that's important provision because it says 2 years bar from working for the corporation if you were practicing before the corporation. I think it's partially included because there's also lifetime ban. They only included 3 years following their departure. Because there are, in this section 73(8) of the Public Officers Law, there are provisions of the ban for former employees and directors for
What
the
does this
businesses.
mean? Former employees can't work for the corporation
Yeah,
for
for
2
receive
years?
compensation.
It's like
other than per
anti-lobbying.
diem. Yes, yes, so if you were working or practicing before the corporation 2 years following their departure from the employment service with the corporation, they cannot be employed for 2 years, but it's a 2 years bar. There's also lifetime bar. I think I actually mentioned this to CLM, which we did not include here. We only put 2 years bar. I think we can keep it. It doesn't hurt.
And it corresponds to number 9.
But we are obligated, the officers and directors, even if we don't include this into this code of ethics, we are still obligated to follow these restrictions under section of the public officers law. So it's up to us whether we want to keep it or not. Again, it's not full and complete.
Okay, so we say appearing or practicing, we really mean lobbying.
Yeah, it's like,
Could be us.
couldn't
Okay.
work for REAC and
But-
then leave and then go work for.
It's not just
some-
lobbying. If
Then
you
what is it?
work, if you go and work for another company that is seeking application of funds from REAC in any way, the bar applies to you.
Seeking an application of funds from REAC.
So like if you wanted like public purpose funds and you wrote the application for a group, that violates this
Environmental-
section.
Sorry, everybody's talking at once. Say it again, Megan, please.
So say somebody left REAC and they went to go work for a small not-for-profit somewhere and that on the island that was trying to get like public purpose funds. If they filled out the application to get those funds, that's a violation of the 2-year ban.
Interesting.
They can work for that group, they can be there, but they cannot seek any benefit from the corporation in any way on behalf of themselves or and the entity they work for.
And this is only people who receive compensation, so a board member.
Anyone
wouldn't
who's
have.
worked for, yeah.
Director, officer, or employee.
Employees and
But
directors who
then
receive
here, like, I don't know,
compensation.
directors do not receive compensation,
Right.
technically. So maybe we need to clear this with outside counsel, because directors are not getting any compensation here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been more than 2 years for me, but I'm working on Reader and I'm working with them on public purpose funds and everything else.
I think you're past your statute of limitations.
I am past, I was gonna say, I'm past my 2 years, but.
But this
I-
is the example where I was saying, like, instead of writing out the thing, just say per, like, refer to the statute instead of
Yeah.
being, so this is too specific, because then you can refer to it and see how it applies to you.
Okay.
Or take it out completely because REAC is subject to it no matter what.
Yes, exactly my point. We're subject to it and no matter
let's
what.
take it out.
And it's only part of it. of
And
this
you can
law.
seek a waiver, it's in the statute, you can seek a waiver of the 2-year ban bar from the governor's office, and those are approved on quite often, so it's not, this isn't a
Yeah.
permanent thing.
And as long as it says directors who receive compensation, it
Yeah,
doesn't really
but-
apply. It would have to be a REAC employee.
I think that's where the comma comes in though, it's no director, comma, so that's board members, officer or employee of the corporation employed on a.
We're reading different things.
Yeah, or number
I
19.
think it says employees and directors who receive compensation.
Yeah, so this is the ABO version, and then it corresponds to 13.
Okay, well, I think it read better before.
In ABO, there's no such version. It's coming from, guidance from COELIC, Committee on Ethics and Lobbying in Government. So it's
Oh,
not based on
sorry.
status, it's not based on the model, it's something that's your recommendation completely, not from prior sources. It's from COELIC's guidance. It's based on
Well,
COELIC's guidance.
Apologies, I misspoke.
Number 15.
Okay. So do you want to take it out? What do you think? Take it out?
I mean, I'm okay with it, leaving it in as long as it says to receive compensation. I can just see a time when board members get off the board and they're typically board members are very active in the community, and that's why they got on the board. So they'll want to go back then to one of the nonprofits they've been working with and.
Right, but I think
And
the whole
but
point is that you have
also-
insider information and you have undue influence because of your proximity of having been on the board. I think that's the point. I may be wrong, but.
And it also concerns the
Yeah,
future action.
I just want to be clear, because if it says
Yeah,
without
there's
compensation,
nothing that says you can't go work for that group. There's nothing that says you can't go work for the group or do
You
work
can't.
for the island. You just can't be the direct person between the corporation and the group.
But again, it concerns not the current behavior, but future expectations. I don't know whether we need to keep this because it concerns your future departure and whether you can further work. Do we need it now? I don't know, but for board members and employees' knowledge, it's important to know that might happen in the future, but it doesn't cover the current, behavior. I don't know, it's up to.
I think we need it gone, or we need it better, because what Megan's saying
Mhm.
is more specific than appears before, and I would hate for somebody to get sideways of it, because the language isn't correct.
It's just, as it's written, that's how the statute's written.
But I think it's not, yeah, it's probably.
It's from this,
73, 18.
73, yeah, you got it.
Okay, because this one.
And when it
says
refers to
responsible.
directors, it says directors who receive compensation, so that's
So
only the
that's not even-
receiving compensation.
Directors do not even
Yeah.
receive compensation.
Yeah,
That's
those
what
are
I'm
only
saying,
directors
but-
who receive compensation.
So that, what I'm saying is, I could leave the board today and become the head of REVA tomorrow and apply for public purpose funds.
Mhm.
But it's
And if
one
that's
of-
not the case, then I think the wording has to be changed.
Yeah.
That's my whole point.
I think that's what this is trying to prevent.
Yeah,
Like
and
what
trying to
you just
prevent that,
said.
then the words need to be changed a little.
Agree.
Do we want to clear this with our outside counsel, or we just want to remove this? Because.
I would throw it outside counsel first, because I just,
Okay.
Yeah,
I think
check
right
some-
now the wording says I
And
can do
we
it.
have resident board members here, which does make it a little bit different in
It
a small
does.
town, because they are the same people who are engaged in, I mean, everyone around this table is here because you've been engaged in things beyond.
And even like with the public purpose funds, you don't deal directly with REAC. You go to the New York, Trust for,
Yes,
Trust for.
New York
whatever,
Community
New
Trust.
York Community
Mhm.
Trust, and then they go to REAC.
It's an independent party.
It's an
Yeah.
independent party, so. I just think it needs to be clarified.
With influence by, well.
Well, they are,
Given the
it's a residential review
Yeah.
committee.
If you're a volunteer in the organization, you're gonna help them get
I
public
think
purpose
the
money.
spirit is that people who are employees or board members have insider information and they have undue influence and they want a clean break.
Correct.
Just like you would say with a lobbying law. So to me, that's the spirit of the law.
Right.
If we can make the letter say that, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a wordsmith, but.
Yeah, I think we should run by council and see, and if that's the
Agreed.
case, that's what we should do.
What's the specific suggestion on what you'd like clarified on this?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I would like it to say, and employees and directors, are prohibited from appearing or practicing before the corporation for 2 years following, whatever, just take out the any director, take out the who received compensation,
Compensation.
because when that's in, it says it's okay for board members to do it.
Yeah.
Well, the language around, and I know it's a lot, but appearing or practicing, I mean, that's legal language, like you're going to court. So what does that mean for the director of REVA?
Yeah.
What does that mean for?
Yeah, I think we need to make it
Appearing or
clearer. You
practicing?
can't be in any way involved in getting grants or something like that from,
Well, I think we
Corporation.
could use, Megan's, expertise, like she's saying, she has the firsthand knowledge of the waivers that can be gotten from the governor's office, and then that happens. Maybe there's some just better language we could add to make it more specific. Like she said, you could be employed, you just can't be the person who's signing the documents for public purpose. So if we have some nice concise way of making that very clear around financials or fiduciaries, that would be.
that kind of violates the law too, if it's right, it's the spirit of it, whether I'm signing the document or I'm just saying, hey, they don't ever do this because we know that. That's
I
something else.
agree
So
with you.
Yeah, because there could be collusion.
Make it, yeah,
I agree with you, but I also heard what Megan said, and so I just wanna make sure that we're,
That waivers are available.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna look at my state handbook as a state worker, I know there's something about this in that.
Yeah.
It says, I think every state employee is what I was saying.
I think it makes sense, if you got inside
I'll look at the
information, you
wording
shouldn't be out,
there.
telling it to the group that's there and somehow influencing the decision to give them funds. I get that, I just don't think this says that.
I agree.
Okay. Conway, you have that? It says, for outside counsel, we need
Well,
clarification
he's putting in the comments. so-
as to whether compensation is a trigger or whether service loan is
What
dispositive.
does appearing or practicing before mean?
Yeah, so I said, we just need clarification on whether the compensation is what triggers this provision or whether service alone triggers it, and the confusion came from the language of who received compensation.
Do you want to put
Can we
down,
take that out?
do we want to put down appearing and practicing as well, or no?
Yeah, and
I think it should be also you're
Something we
involved
need
in certain matters
Yeah.
or overseeing certain matters. Like executives are working on certain contracts or something. It should be also in the scope of your involvement in certain projects.
Mm-hmm,
If you oversee this project
exactly.
that Priya is working on, you cannot then work for this company for 2 years.
Yeah, I get it, what they're saying, I'm just.
Yeah,
It's
it's not, I think it's not only because every employee gets compensation, and
Right.
here, three directors do not receive compensation. So the first sentence will not apply to us.
Okay.
Leave it?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so 14. Do you want to do anything about 14?
I think this is something that we put this in the bylaws before
Okay.
regarding representation when you speak in your official capacity, and I think you drafted this language when we were working, for the bylaws company.
Okay.
I think it was your suggestion.
Did we end up taking that out of the bylaws, or did we?
Yes, we
Reduce
took
this?
it out of the bylaws with the understanding that it's probably included in the code of ethics. And now how it's added here, and Morris has reservations about this
Oh, okay, what's
section.
Morris's comment?
He said that he's conflicted about standard 14, which does not appear to be a part of public officers law. While I agree with the sentiment that people should make clear which capacity they're speaking in, it seems like more of an employee or board member's handbook issue rather than an ethics issue. It doesn't seem to fit this document regardless, and I suggest removal.
A lot of words to say, don't speak on behalf of the corporation unless you've been allowed to.
So it's up to the committee and the board whether to keep this language or not, but in Morris's opinion, it does not,
Yeah,
That
I just
was
don't see
part-
this, I don't see this as like a code of ethics, issue. This seems
I don't need,
too specific for this.
What is the board member handbook?
we don't have such handbook. for
There is
the
no board
members.
member
What is that?
Then we might need
you
one.
haven't gotten your handbook?
Yeah.
I got a giant binder.
I mean, yeah, we have bylaws, that's kind of in some sense board members.
Yeah, I'm remembering this, I'm remembering this now, thanks for
Yeah, you put it back.
refreshing my recollection, yeah,
Why we
because,
put it here and.
right, we had it in the bylaws, we said, no, this is ethics, put it in the ethics, now it's in the ethics, we wanna take it out of the ethics and put it where, it keeps getting kicked out.
There's no other
No, I mean, to me, it's
documents
common
where we
sense.
can memorize, but because.
All this is common.
Yeah.
It is, but this is one that someone can very easily run afoul of, especially since we're all employed other places. We've all got multiple hats that we wear, so it feels like it should be somewhere.
Yeah.
We can keep it
I'm
here.
not gonna say where.
Shorten it.
No, we worked so hard on this
Yeah.
language. It either stays or goes in the way it's written, because we took
Even,
so
but
much time
why
drafting
even with the
this
exception of the
language.
chairperson? Anybody speaking on behalf of the corporation should have the authority of the corporation. If you're speaking on a personal,
Right, so
on
then
a personal,
why don't
whatever.
why don't we just delete from whether all the way down? Or like, take that part out and just say, just identify what you're speaking for. And because there's too many words to say that. I agree with Margie.
Too much. It's
This
just,
is,
you know, when
like,
you're speaking,
we have the word
make it clear.
facsimile in here. Like, what the heck? Why do we have facsimile? Like, no one's faxing anything anymore.
Yeah,
And-
unfortunately.
And also a text message, like, no one's gonna do that either.
Text to the press, absolutely.
People are still faxing, Megan.
In all your communications, make it clear if you're speaking on a personal basis or on behalf of the corporation.
And also, you're not allowed to speak on behalf of the corporation unless you've been approved.
Well,
That's what I want to say, this is a conflict. This is a conflict of interest.
yeah.
I'm gonna step out of it, 'cause I have no problem with the language as it is. So I'll let you all.
Yeah, let's take out this parenthetical.
The board?
We don't feel like we need that.
including but not limited to.
Yeah,
Verbally or in
including but not limited to, we'll take that out.
Yeah. Already, got it, yeah.
Smoke signals.
There was, Megan, repeat your edit?
It was basically
Take
every
everything
other
out.
word in each sentence.
After weather.
Delete everything after weather,
Mhm.
Looking for weather.
starting with weather.
Oh,
It's
that's
the
way,
line.
that's way at the
Like,
top.
yeah.
The
And-
sentence is not finished if we remove this, whether
Yeah,
verbally
and-
and writing.
So,
Oh,
all of it.
oh,
And
maybe,
not,
yes,
and is
then we
not
should
speaking
say
on
just-
behalf of the board. Keep that.
okay, let me see. Let me-
So whether verbally or in
Well, that's
writing,
still
shall
good, so.
affirmatively state, okay, so of the corporation,
Yeah, that's too much. I got a little cut off
now we
when I
should
was
say
trying to
that
explain.
they are speaking, of he or she, that they are speaking in a personal capacity.
Me.
So you wanna take out, are you
Hold on,
taking out
let
stuff?
me-
I'm looking to see if it makes sense.
Yeah, if we remove this, whether verbally and writing including, and we just say regarding business corporation, shall affirmatively state. Without
Right,
specifying
yes,
verbally.
Lana's
Yeah.
right. That's what I was saying. Like that clause can come out.
Okay, whether verbally or in writing, because you know
Yes.
we're gonna get a smart aleck who's gonna say, you didn't say I couldn't say it. It was in an email, you didn't say I couldn't email.
It says public statement or communication, communication includes email.
We assume,
Shall affirm state that they are speaking in a personal capacity. Not he or she. Here, I don't know if it's to call it. It's too many restrictions on chairperson here, I don't know why, but like.
Yeah, and I don't know why why is it
Why can't it-
specific to the chairperson when they're a director of the
yeah,
corporation?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
agree, that part, in
Redundant.
addition, that can go. All
Yeah,
right.
we will remove this
It is
chairperson.
weird, because we accept them at the top, and then we add them at the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
weird.
weird. So we'll just,
Everybody.
we'll delete the bottom.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of what we say above.
Okay, so I
I
think,
think,
how's it, how it reads on the screen, how's
Yeah,
that?
it's
All right.
short.
With the
is it
exception-
consistent though, is how we're referring to the corporation? Because it says board in here. How did we, where's the,
Oh,
how
Yeah,
are we
good
referring
call out.
to?
how are we referring to?
Yeah, yes, this is the first one I already looked at. Before that, we don't even say the word board,
Okay.
we only say directors.
And do
then in
we,
the next step, with implementation, we say the board. So
Okay.
this
do
is
we
the first time
normally
we-
refer to it as the board in documents though, Lada? Is that how it's done?
That was a good call out.
Yeah, because here we call directors, now we say the board.
You know, I mean, I'm fine with like, if you want to correct that after and outside of this, like, just make sure it's consistent with how it's supposed to be referred to. I don't think we need to look it up right now.
But in the model code of ethics by ABO, they also like have these directors, and then implementation of code of ethics. And then they say the board may designate an ethics officer, so they just use the board, like.
I think we can just get away with the board here,
Yeah,
based on the preamble,
Okay,
where we specify all members of the board of directors, et cetera, et cetera.
Great.
oh, yeah,
Great.
it is in prayer.
Okay. That made
Okay,
and
a
then you have
good
to take,
reduction.
okay. Just leave it, I'm good with it. Anybody, have any other objections or anything?
No.
We're all good, okay, let's
Okay.
go on. All right, so 3, we've gone through 2, now we're gonna go to 3. So Morris says, I have one position I hold firmly, governance committee's role around conflict of interest should be limited to the good work being done to update these documents. The governance committee should not be involved whatsoever in handling potential conflicts of interest or considering potential merits of specific complaints. And then, all of this,
Lydia, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, we will move to, because we have a section on violations about this penalty, and then we have another penalties and violation in procedures. So I don't know whether we need to keep it here, but this portion of code of ethics, and then the next portion of conflict of interest, or we should say twice, violations of code of ethics, and then we have penalties for violating the conflict of interest policy. Which has a different language.
okay, Lotta, I am confused about,
I'm sorry, so if we treat it separately as a code of ethics, these are violations pertaining to the code of ethics only. Because in conflict of interest policy, we have a separate section on violations as well. Reporting of violations and penalties. In procedures, they have.
Procedures, right,
Yes,
right,
so
right,
we are
right.
kind of,
You've got
as if
penalties
there are
down
two
there.
separate documents, to me, it should be one penalty and violations,
Well-
whether you violate code of ethics or conflict of interest policy, they're subject to discipline.
Well, the second one is just the reporting of it, right?
Yes.
It's not specifying what the violations actually will result in, right?
Anyway, we can leave it like that, but I thought it's weird that we have violations here after code of ethics, and then we have violations. And again, this is kind of two separate policies combined. They have separate sections of violation for each part.
Yeah, here's the case, it says you can be fined, suspended, or removed from office, and here it says you may be subject to discipline as determined by the board, and subject to penalties in manner provided.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. We
Yeah.
should
So
bring those
here
into
we have the
alignment.
violations here for code of ethics, and then we have penalties, which is basically violations for conflict of interest. And it's a different language.
So, yeah, maybe remove it from page 3 and
Yeah.
make sure that we capture it in procedures on page 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
number
that
6
makes sense.
basically
Yeah.
says it,
Yeah,
so just need to make sure we like the best of the language we end up with.
right.
okay.
It's repetitive and it's different language twice.
Right.
It should be one uniform language at the end for violation of both of these
Yep.
parts of
Okay, so we'll make that deletion there on page 3, go to page 6. Penalties.
not that, but who fails.
Well, reporting of violations, so it's between 5 and 6.
So 6, I think we want to change, right? To capture the language that was in violations that we deleted on page 3.
Yeah, we can, and also it's not that fails or any director officer who fails to comply with this policy. I'm so sorry, I'm jumping.
All right, so we're gonna excise violations from 3, put it into number 6 on page 6. And then keep implementation. The next thing would be implementation.
Wait, did we address
We haven't addressed anything.
Morris's number 3?
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
We got sidetracked.
We jumped ahead.
Yes, okay.
But for procedures, do we say procedures for both code of ethics and conflict of interest? Because in some of these sections, it specifically states conflict of interest, like number 2 does, number 4 does.
Yeah, maybe we,
Okay, these are procedures specific to
Mhm.
conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Not
then
necessarily.
you get down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has, it's these and both of them.
I think we have to say it's for both, and then remove conflict of interest in some of the sections.
But that's specifically around conflict of interest, you talked about your disclosing one.
Mm-hmm.
So code of ethics wouldn't make sense there.
So then do we have a separate, do we keep it the way it is then?
I think you can delineate on each number if it's
Okay.
more specific
Okay,
to one or the other, but I agree, like the title of it
Mhm.
probably should be,
yeah.
if it's necessary to be all encompassing.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a mixture of,
Yeah, I don't know why that got put there. To Drew's point, it seems, having not looked at this for a while, it seems like this, let me put on the screen, this section, where is it? Yeah. So where we say, conflict of interest policy. So everything from Roman numeral 2 on down, I think, should be germane to our conflict of interest policy, which would mean taking, the items that Drew called out and putting them here. In our procedures. Procedure number 2, determining whether a conflict of interest exists. And 4, records of conflict of interest. That probably is best captured under this section somewhere, just to keep them consistent.
Yeah, but then also if you read 1, it says duty to disclose all material facts related to the conflict of interest. So even if you read some of these paragraphs,
How did we get?
yeah, they focus on conflict of interest.
Well, can we just take procedures at the very end?
Just maybe put it all at the very end, there we go.
Number
I think that's the easy thing.
Yeah.
Because they all seem to relate to conflict of interest anyway.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
but the procedures already is on very end.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it's more of a preamble.
We must have,
I think it's repetitive stuff
we must
here.
have taken, it seems like we just, like Frankenstein monster a couple of.
One code of ethics.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it should be like 1 code of ethics, 2 conflict of interest policy. Almost feel like it should go.
Honestly, they are so closely related, because in our original code of ethics, it was subsection of conflict of interest. It's a part of the code of ethics. So they're so closely related, because I think at the end, all this, bullet points, financial or personal interest in any person, firm, or corporation, transaction, that's exactly what is already said on the page, financial interest, number 5, for example, no transactions or financial interest. I think it's somehow already
Okay.
spelled out. Maybe it could be structured differently, I don't know. Implementation.
So has all this been repeated already? I mean, number 2, is that already repeated in before?
You mean the Roman numeral 2 conflict of interest policy?
Yeah. Has it been repeated in the code of ethics?
Any other person may appear to make it difficult for the director of the project to understand and judge the complex of the official duty.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
It sounds,
this is how it exists on our website, right, this document? This one?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, it's in the correct order here. We have procedures on page 5, behind conflict of interest policy on page 4. So why did we move it around? Anyway, let's just take.
Anyway, I'm so sorry, maybe we'll go back.
do you wanna switch it then?
No,
To what it was, make conflict of interest first and then code of ethics underneath?
no,
Would that make more sense or not? I just feel like a lot of this stuff is repetitive. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not reading.
I think there's some, sorry, just take off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, okay, so it is, it does mirror what we currently have. Okay, I was misreading it. So we do have conflict of interest policy on page 4, and
And
then
then
the
procedures.
procedures on page 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so we're okay.
Yeah.
What else did we do there?
Yeah. So we just remove violations then, or we can keep it and then go to implementation. Or we'll go back to Morris's comment.
Okay, can we go back to Morris's comment?
Yeah, let's go back to
Let's
one.
go back to Morris's comment, because I'm getting confused with the rest of it, okay.
All right.
It says, The governance committee should not be advising anyone about how to proceed if there's potential conflict. Members of the governance committee are not typically armed with the necessary training, legal or otherwise, to opine on such matters.
Mr.
Topic.
President, where are you reading?
I'm reading number three on
Number
Morris's
three.
three.
Yeah.
I'd be
because
very
that's confirmed.
concerned about exposing Ralph and board members to unnecessary risk if governance committee provides inaccurate, incomplete, or inappropriate information about an ethics issues, and my concern is not mollified by the language in number 2 under procedures that says governance committee should seek guidance for their response. Governance committee simply shouldn't be involved, so in number 1 and number 2 of the procedures section, I would remove the 3 references to the governance committee and leave reference to the ethics officer. Similarly, in the section titled Reporting Unethical Behavior on page 4, I'd end the first sentence after ethics officer. Okay, so the response from outside counsel is, these procedures come from the ABO model conflict of interest policy as per Public Authorities Law, section 2824-7. It's the responsibility of the governance committee to examine ethical and conflict of interest issues. Accordingly, we do not recommend removing references to the governance committee here. We note, however, the policy is drafted so the ethics officer and the governance committee is responsible for these procedures, so governance committee can call on the ethics officer as well as state agencies and outside counsel for guidance. So, outside counsel's response is, per law, governance committee should be involved in ethics issues.
Per law or per the?
Yeah,
ABO
I don't
model?
think per law.
Yeah, I
No,
don't think
there's
per
no
It
law.
says
I think
per
it's-
Public Authorities Law, section 2824, isn't that law?
Yes, but there's no mentioning of governance committee in the model code of ethics at all. It says the board may designate an ethics officer, which shall report to the board. So it's code of ethics, the ethics officer responsibility.
Well, back when we first wrote these, we didn't have an ethics officer.
We have the ethics.
Well, I know we do now, but didn't we years and years ago, back when this
It
was
was
first?
always general counsel who was reporting ethics,
Okay.
24/7 pulled up somewhere.
yeah, well, we'll look at that, yes, yes. Because model code of ethics does not reference the governance committee oversight over ethics. Okay, let me check.
Because I believe the reference, the law there is that you have to have a conflict of interest policy. And I think that's the role of the governance committee, is to ensure there is a policy, not to enforce said policy. That's the role of
Can you pull it
COEG,
up?
that's the role of the ethics officer.
Yep.
Conway, can you pull it up on the screen, please?
I don't know if it'll come, I think this thing is sharing windows. Let me try.
Okay.
I didn't remember the model code of ethics ever involving the governance committee, just the ethics officer.
Yeah,
I don't seem to get the
Well, I mean, he's saying that procedure comes from the ABO model conflict of interest policy.
that's why I'm like.
Public Authorities Law.
That seems fair.
So, this is not.
What we have here is
this
the model.
COLIG. This is COLIG, not ABO.
Code of ethics, not conflict of interest.
Yeah, it's not
Whatever
ABO.
the ABO says about, I'd be surprised if they mentioned the governance committee.
Right.
Yeah, but you have this in front of you, the
No,
model
but that's the code of ethics, that's not, they're referring to the,
governance.
model conflict of interest policy. This is the
Yeah,
code
if you
of
have
ethics policy.
ABO, because you have,
We don't have an ABO conflict of interest, a copy of one, we only have the model
Okay.
code of ethics, but I'd be stunned if they had one that said, go to the governance committee.
I have it on this computer, but it's not showing on
okay,
the large screen, but I can read it for you guys.
okay.
I'll read over your shoulder.
Okay, so. 2824, section 7. Board members of each state and local authority or subsidiary thereof shall establish a governance committee to be comprised of not less than 3 independent members, who shall constitute a majority of the committee, and who shall possess the necessary skills to understand these duties and functions of the governance committee, provided, however, that in the event that a board has less than 3 independent members, the board may appoint non-independent members to the governance committee provided that the independent members must constitute a majority of the members of the governance committee. It shall be the responsibility of the members of the governance committee to keep the board informed of current best governance practices, to review corporate governance trends, to recommend updates to the authority's corporate governance principles, to advise appointing authorities on the skills and experience required of potential board members, to examine ethical and conflict of interest issues, interesting, to perform board self-evaluations, and to recommend bylaws, which include rules and procedures for conduct of board business.
So it does include ethical conflict of interest.
Yeah, this is interesting. So the operative clause here, to examine ethical and conflict of interest issues.
But that, I mean, to me, that could be interpreted as saying the
Yeah.
ethics officer goes to after it's all reported and everything, they go to the governance committee and say, here's what we're doing, or.
Well, yeah, so
Yeah.
examining the issues that may not necessarily be the same thing as examining a matter that comes up in our day-to-day. So we're examining the issues and we're putting it to policy,
Right,
but we're not necessarily acting as the ethics officer.
right.
Yeah,
See, the ethics officer takes the complaints, reviews
Right.
issues or whatever, and then if the procedures have to be changed or anything, in the code has to be changed, then the governance committee does that, but they would get involved with the ethics officer after he or she handled that individual issue.
And does the governance committee have to verify that the proper procedures?
They would
were
verify with
followed?
the ethical officer, with the ethics officer that, you know, when they what was the word, managed or,
Examine.
examined, when they
Examine ethical
examined,
issues.
was everything
Okay.
followed, yeah, everything good, okay. But they wouldn't actually do the handling
Yeah,
of
correct.
it. I mean, that's been my interpretation of it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
no, I think that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we still have to be involved in
Mhm.
creating the ethics procedures.
But that's
Oh,
what
you
we
have
have
to-
to-
that's
that's
what
what
they're
is
doing.
happening
Which is
now.
this.
Right, and then make sure the ethics officer is following it.
Correct,
Right.
exactly.
So there's an accountability structure, and the accountability structure for the ethics officer is the governance committee.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Uh,
You're looking very thoughtful.
Or, well,
uh,
I think we want to be, to Morris's point, yes, in that we're creating the policy that the ethics officer will follow.
But we also have to have fiduciary responsibility over the ethics
The
officer.
board
The
of
board does.
directors, yes.
Right, not necessarily the governance.
Yes, correct.
Well, through the governance committee, I think there has to
No,
be
I feel
a
it's
process.
Not
I mean, the
necessarily. Because what if the conflict or the issue is about the governance committee? You can't.
Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
It has to be the full board. And that's where
Yeah.
it doesn't, don't we even say that the ethics officer is appointed by the board and not the committee?
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. That's fine, but then are we gonna establish that, the ethics officer report to, the board on a regular basis, whether it's once or twice a year, or 4 times a quarterly, or
It says
whatever?
council directors, officer employees who seek advice about this. So if the board members are seeking advice, then the ethics officer counsels them, but there's no reporting from ethics officer to any committee.
But if you saw it was vacant for 6 months, the governance committee might say, hey, what's going on?
Right.
Who's the ethics officer? I mean, who is it now? Is Lada?
Right now, it's
I'm
Lada.
acting-
I mean,
Right now, by default, it's Lada, because there's no general.
so I mean, that's
that's
the
the-
kind of thing that you'd need to be kept up to date on, I think, as a governance committee. That
Yeah,
would-
It's
because
also
we
the
don't
kind of, it's
have-
also the kind of position that wouldn't be vacant that long like that. There'd be somebody acting instead if there was, you know, and it could also be changed to other person's duties.
Is that something that needs to be?
Maybe to me,
Might
I
be.
think ongoing in government, they have their protocol, and it's typically general counsels of state agencies and authorities. So I'm only performing this in absence of general counsel, otherwise it will be general counsel.
Right.
And it was always general counsel at RIAC.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if
there's
it's
a
usually, if
conflict-
it's not their general counsel, it's usually like the employee relations attorney or labor relations person.
Don't we outsource some of that?
No, it's not outsourced, whatever.
I'm just saying, the
Whatever
example
you-
doesn't always have to be the general counsel.
Right.
It could be anyone like managing compliance, yeah.
Yes, it could be compliance officer or internal, but ethics officers historically, and Rick, and if you go to any other agency, who's your ethics officer? It's always someone
The
from
general
legal
counsel.
department, and it's always
And
general
if this,
counsel.
it would be the deputy, if their general counsel left or whatever, it'd be the deputy counsel or the acting general counsel or whatever until the person was,
Yes, and
the
then
counsel was replaced.
Coelic also have the book for ethics officers, and it's designed for counsel, for general counsels, they have their protocol, how to,
Right.
yes.
Right.
We have to, conduct this ethics training for all the employees, or, FDA, financial disclosure reporting, all this type of, or outside activities reporting, that's coming from the Office of General Counsel. These are ethical obligations that every board member and employee need to fulfill, and the reporting requirements and reminding of this requirements lies with the Office of General Counsel.
Right. I always got a reminder to have people do their once a year report.
And again, I apologize if I'm missing something, but under implementation, it says the board may designate an ethics officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we want to make it shall?
Now,
I mean, we're basically here saying we have one, we
shall.
gotta have one. That person should be the person and not the governance committee.
Mhm.
And then we have the may language, that doesn't work.
Let's
Yes,
go
I
with
also
shall.
found it weird because it's
Real-
from ABO model, that it says may designate an ethics officer. But
Mm.
in reality, if you look at Coelic's requirements, that it's a mandate, it's not an optional to have ethics officer, you must have ethics officer.
so, but Melissa vote should say change may to shall.
Neil, let's just change it.
Yes,
Change may
correct.
shall.
Implementation, where'd you go?
And does that have to be voted on at
Mhm.
any point in time?
Yeah,
Okay.
if it's a shall, it has to be voted on.
Mhm.
But the board,
What?
like,
Wait, I'm
well,
sorry, what? What is that? What, if it's a shall?
What?
What has to be voted on?
It's
Yeah, what
saying
are you
If
that
it's
voting
a
on?
shall, then it has to be voted on.
Implementation, Megan?
What? I'm so confused. What?
So we're if I'm summarizing this correctly, we're noting Morris's point that the operations of determining ethical codes, violations or what have you, should rest with an ethics officer.
Okay.
And then you notice that the implementation section, which is on the screen,
Mhm.
it makes it optional of having an ethics officer. And so we want to make it non-optional, that
Oh,
there
see, I
shall
see
be
it.
an ethics.
I saw the may as the board or a CEO could designate the ethics officer. Like it could be a corporate designation, not necessarily the board choosing the person, as long as there is a person in that office, in that position.
I think that was
That
the case
needs to be
with Rick,
something.
because there was no single resolution appointing general counsel as ethics officer, but it was maybe, but practice, it was practice at Rick and
So,
other
like,
agencies that general counsel was.
Yeah, I saw it
Was
read it
not-
more as like,
was-
if there wasn't an ethics officer and the board acknowledged that, they may have the option to designate a person. But it should,
Right.
it's a management decision on who that should be.
Why?
What do you mean, why? Like, if I'm the
I
CEO of
am
a
the
corporation, shouldn't I be able to decide what my staff are doing? As long as there is an ethics officer. If I don't want it to be my general counsel and I want it to be my deputy counsel because they have more experience in that field, can I just appoint that person and say, okay, board, here is the ethics officer is this person. It's designated, it's identified, we have one. Why does the board have to choose it?
Well, I mean, if he or she says so, if they say so, present it to the board, then that should sell the board and we should have a really nice rubber stamp, which we're not supposed to do. But we should have a collective board approval.
Could we just say the board and or the CEO may designate an ethics officer?
Yeah, is that your position,
Is that-
Megan?
If
Yeah,
that's the
I
only
mean,
issue.
Yeah, that, I'm just saying, we were getting into a weird, like, it says shall, so the board has to vote on something. I don't think that should be the case
Yeah.
with staff decisions, that's all.
So do you
I think
wanna
we
be
just wanna
the
say one
CEO
has to be
with,
designated, it's not optional having an ethics officer,
so the
so we
CEO
say,
with
the
the
board
approval
or
of
the
the board?
CEO shall
Or
designate.
the corporation will designate an ethics
Or
officer,
the
or something
corporation,
like that,
fine.
who shall
Yeah.
report to the board. Like,
Okay.
Yeah,
is
I
that,
think
is
it's-
that okay?
I think ethics
It just
officer
needs to be spelled out somewhere, and it-
reports
it
to the
wasn't.
president of the corporation.
Wait, so,
I
wait,
think ethics
stop.
officer reports to the president of the corporation.
Ethics
Where
officer
are
reports, no, it says report to the board.
page,
Oh,
That's
yes,
what
the
we
report to
want,
the
we
board,
want
yes.
them to, so if the ethics officer
Yes,
is
yes.
reporting to the board,
Mhm.
Okay,
let's down page 3 of the markup.
I think we should all agree upon with the CEO who the ethics officer should be.
And by the way, Morris sent the email, to the committee members as far that it's reached, so you, Megan, yes, you can check, email from Morris.
Yeah, I don't have it, because he has it. Sorry.
Yeah,
He's
so
got my
that,
thing.
this is his thoughts about,
What did he say? What did he
exactly
say?
what we are discussing now.
What did he say?
you just wanna read it?
Read it.
Okay, hello, governance committee and Lada, thanks for sharing the outside council response, very helpful, especially the clarified language we have taken from regarding number 3. I continue to believe that the governance committee or any of us really is not trained or well situated to arbitrate or advise on potential conflict of interest. I appreciate seeing outside counsel's reference to the ABO model. However, so if the governance committee chooses to advance this language, I would suggest that they also explicitly delegate the appropriate responsibility to the ethics officer or colleague. Outside counsel stated in their response that the governance committee can call on the ethics officer as well as state agencies and outside counsel. I'll be interested to hear where the committee lands on this question, whether the governance committee believes that they have the experience and expertise to weigh in on potential conflict of interest, or whether they intend to defer to the lawyers. Thanks again for sharing, and the work of the committee.
Well,
So
yeah.
I just like this ethical issue, this implementation of certain sections of the public officers law in terms of outside activities, in terms of anything here, accepting gifts and gratuities, it's normally lawyers who send this information. And that's what our general counsels were doing for all these years, and in any other authority. So even if we report, if the
I think we-
ethics officer.
I think we covered his concern, right?
Well, not yet. We
Yeah.
haven't changed the language in the procedures yet. This is, if we do, this is what Morris is asking us to do. Anywhere where we see this,
This is what? Anywhere
we
you
should
see,
strike this
Governance.
The governance committee make it the ethics officer.
to the ethics officer. So this,
Right.
and then here, the ethics officer shall advise the individual.
Yep.
And then the ethics officer should seek guidance from the corporation's legal counsel.
I mean, the ethics officer would be, or could potentially be the corporation's legal counsel.
Could be outside legal counsel.
Yeah, it depends on the issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I think now we address, 1 and 2 address Morris's point. But going back really quickly to make sure
Yeah,
we're closing the loop.
I'm good with your edit on that and adding the CEO.
Yeah, yeah, so the board and or CEO shall designate an ethics officer who shall report to the board. We good with this language?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Theory.
Okay,
I just, because first
Oh, no,
there's
I'm
being
fine.
a
Yeah, yeah.
hassle, and then, but if we can cross that bridge, and if we hopefully never get there.
yeah.
What do you think? Yeah, okay? No?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you had kind of said something like the CEO with the approval of the board,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of, right, like, lets you know that there's gonna be eyes on this decision, it's your decision, and it's kind of like what you said, if you've made a good decision and the board's in agreement, we're going to support you and back you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't completely bring the board out of the decision, but it doesn't put the board in the driver's seat. and I sort of like that.
Yeah, do you wanna add what?
So do you want to change that? Can we change it to the CEO with the support of the board shall designate
Usually in consultation with?
in consultation with the board
Okay,
shall designate.
like that one.
Is that okay?
I think that
So
makes
I
sense.
get,
We should be
I
saying
agree
the
in the
same runner-
spirit.
both officer. Yeah, that was also a resolution passed by the board.
Okay, Megan, go ahead.
So
What?
I appreciate and agree with the spirit of that edit, but what does in consultation mean? A resolution has to be approved by the board or consent given and or, like note provided to the board by the CEO that I've appointed this person? Like, I think I just think the action is not clear on what's expected of the board.
I think that the CEO should say in a board meeting, in front of the entire board, this is who I think should be the ethics officer, and this is why. And that's the consultation with the board.
Okay, all
And
right,
if the board says, okay, then okay.
What if the
okay.
board
I
does
just,
not?
I just want it clear that like,
Yeah.
Then we
we're
should
not
have
be approved.
expecting a
So in
formal
approve-
documentation of it.
a consultation with the board, with the approval of the board, I don't,
Those are different things.
Consultation
Two
does not
different
mean
things.
approval.
No, it doesn't, right?
so do you want
I want
approval of the board, or do you want consultation?
Because
Cause if we're making an
It seems
approval,
like you're
you might as well
approving
just
it,
say the board.
yes, exactly, because you're saying approval. It's, consultation is approval, yeah.
Consultation is, you all should know who that person is, and every staff member should know who that person is.
I went to the resolution.
Right, and you can still do that without a formal resolution. Like,
Yes, because I went through the resolution
It's a-
database, there was no single appointment of ethics officer or general counsel. It was always secretary to the board and vice president of Department of Legal Affairs. This is how all the resolutions for general counsel were titled. Secretary to the board and vice president of Department of Legal Affairs. Not general counsel, not ethics officer, were not found in the resolution database since the creation of this corporation.
There should be an ethics officer.
Yeah.
That's why the
That's
bylaw
right.
says
It always has been, yeah.
that the board selects secretary to the board, but we change it.
So you wanna leave, so I'm good with this, the board and/or the CEO in consultation with the board shall. I'm good with that. Should we leave it that way? Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right, Morris should be happy.
I hope so.
3?
Three is done. Is three done?
Moving on to 4.
Moving on to four. As a result, I would remove number four.
But before we move on,
Go
if you
ahead.
look at CLM's comment, it says, the last sentence, it says, the governance committee is responsible for these procedures, so the governance committee can call on the ethics officer.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Morris just responded to that.
Yeah,
That's what Lotta read.
yeah. No, I know, but, so, can the governance committee call on the ethics officer? They can, right?
Yeah.
Just to make
Yeah,
sure
there's nothing
procedures
that
are
says
being
they
followed.
can't.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
I still think,
if
that-
anything, the ethics officer should also be coming to the governance committee if they identify a gap in our
Absolutely.
policies or something like that. Like, it's a
Mhm.
relationship that they should have, be able to discuss these kinds of
Right.
things with each other.
okay, I
Board
agree with that.
didn't want it to be included.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so which one are,
What?
he doesn't
He
want the
doesn't.
governance committee to be responsible to call on the ethics officer.
Well, he
Yeah.
doesn't want them in the
Yeah,
procedures part of
procedures.
it.
Right, he doesn't
But
want
But
them to be the
that's what
decider.
Right, during
Yeah.
the meeting.
I mean, to consult is not to, you know, if you take the governance committee out of all these procedures,
it's
which
just-
I absolutely understand,
Yeah.
then, it's the ethics officer's responsibility to make all those.
Yeah, so wherever it says governance committee and/or ethics
I
officer,
think in
should
terms
just
of the
say ethics
procedures,
officer.
right.
What are you saying is different
That's
than what we
I
have
thought
now?
that's what we're doing.
No, there's
Right.
nothing, we're keeping it or leaving it.
Which part?
Well, you took
But
out
are
the
we
governance
keeping what
committee.
CLM said, or are we keeping what Morris is saying?
We did what Morris
Okay.
said, yeah, we did what
We
Morris said.
did like a
Mark,
combo.
Okay.
Yeah.
The procedures.
So in one
Yeah.
and two, we should
Yeah,
take
so
out
here,
governance
yeah.
committee and just leave
I
it.
saw that, yep.
Yeah, so those are.
Okay.
So in terms of the procedures and implementation, we took the governance committee out,
Correct.
Right.
but we kept governance committee in for calling on them,
Right.
or whatever,
Consultation.
yeah. Right? Is that right, Conway? Is that what we did?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
So we took the governance committee out of the procedures, but we kept them in the loop in terms of being able to call on the ethics officer.
Where is it?
No,
spelled out?
No?
no, just in appointing the
In
ethics
appointing
officer,
the-
that's what we
Yeah.
kept them in on.
Yeah, that's it.
Wait,
Mhm.
now I have to take a look at
Mhm.
what happened.
Yeah, that's
Can you
why,
tell me that,
that's
please?
why I brought it up.
Tell me what happened, please.
So these are,
The governance committee,
Right.
governance committee, we took out, that's right.
okay, and then here is the only other edit we made.
And consultation designated with it. Okay, but it still says somewhere in there, it should say that the governance committee can call on the ethics officer, right?
I don't think it ever
For what?
said that anywhere.
It says the ethics officer shall report to the board,
Right.
the full board.
Right, it says that, but it never said that the governance committee can call on them anywhere. It just never said that. That's just
Right.
implied and in their comments.
It should be the full
No.
board.
It's
No, no, but
implied.
but CLM is stating that in their comments.
Right, and it also says for guidance. It doesn't say like to use them
Okay,
or in some like way to as a tool. I don't know what you're saying. Like, what do you mean by call on
No,
the
I'm
ethics
just saying-
officer? For what?
just like governance committee, any committee can call on any person in the corporation.
Yeah, we could call.
Right,
yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, I
absolutely.
don't understand what it's implied.
Okay.
We don't need that stated.
Okay, we don't need to state it.
Right.
Okay, that's it, that's all. I just want to make sure that that's clear. Okay, can we go on? We're good? I'm
Yep,
good.
number 4.
All right, as a result, I would remove number 4 under the records. Did we remove? We did not, we just took out
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Where's number 4? Okay, I'll just keep on reading. Because the Real Board should not be in the business of considering potential conflicts, and complaint would be filed with COLID and would have their own process with transparency where appropriate and protections where appropriate. The council's response was, ABO recommends that public authorities follow the New York Nonprofit Corporation law provisions on conflicts of interest as best practice, and this is generally reflected in the ABO model, and the draft policy tracks that language. To the extent a transaction agreement or arrangement involves a conflict of interest or related party transaction comes before the board as an agenda item, the interest in the potential transaction should be disclosed at the meeting and reflected in the meeting minutes. This procedure could be employed before escalating the situation to the point of a complaint to COLID. Some potential conflicts of interest may be minor and may be able to be addressed within REAC. We do not think that the contents of a board member disclosure forms needs to be discussed at the board meeting or reflected in the meeting minutes. So number 4, he wants to take
Did
out.
you interpret that as they agree with Morris?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
That's how
they
I
think-
read it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So take 4 out.
okay.
Because I think so just to talk it out a little bit, so if I'm a board member who has a conflict, I would just say, I'm abstaining from this vote because I have a conflict. I don't need to identify what that conflict is in the open session. Right?
Mhm.
And we don't need to note it in minutes. Like, yeah, I say take that section out.
We have a separate process for conflict of interest. Whoever that have conflict of interest, whether it's a board member or staff member, they're in legal office, they submit it to ethics officer or general counsel, and it's not included in the minutes because that's the entire description of this conflict of interest. However, the minutes reflect already when the board member recusal is reflected. Because if they have some conflicted, I refuse myself, but they never explain all the details and reasons, so I would agree with, Morris. I don't know.
Okay, so,
When you have a conflict, it goes to the ethics officer. The ethics officer decides if there is truly a conflict of interest. Then we have recusal and abstention if necessary. So this is basically just saying we're taking out the reporting of it to the public. But there's still steps that have to be followed. And those
Yeah, there are
Right.
steps, but they're not like done within the board minutes,
Right.
but
And then there's
it's really
reporting.
all the board members, whether they conflicted, they actually
I think for-
recuse themselves from voting on items that they might have potential or appearance of conflict of interest. So that should be reflected for sure, but not the actual record of conflict, because there's an entire paperwork in legal office.
Right. So, is everybody in agreement that four can come out?
Okay.
hold on a second, I'm confused. Where's number 4? Is that
It's
no,
it's in procedures, it's under procedures.
Page 6, the blue.
it's 6?
Yes.
It's the last page, or almost last page, 6, we have 7.
Page 6 of the copy.
Oh.
Number 4, yeah.
I'm like, where is this? Okay, all right.
Conflict of interest.
So records are coming, okay, I'm okay with taking it out, and check it out,
Yep.
take it out, that's fine. That means 5 is now 4. So now we're looking at 5.
Mhm.
Under, we can remove the parenthetical, if any. REAC, like all state entities, is required to designate an ethics officer, so we should always have one. I believe Lotta is acting in that capacity now. It's my understanding that the board designates general counsel to be ethics officer a long time ago. If that's not the case, the board could consider a resolution to clarify.
Which is true.
Yeah,
but
they
I just
agreed.
wanna point out the fact that he is a board member, and some people didn't know who the ethics, that's why this needs to be clarified the way you've done it here.
Yeah,
Because he's a board member, and he's saying, I believe Lauda, and I think this is what we do, and that's why that point with implementation, saying that to be in consult with the board, I think is very important. He's a board member who is obviously very engaged and involved and caring, and he didn't know exactly.
Wasn't sure.
Also, why do you have all this, like, supervisor,
Okay.
or the corporation office, they should be reported to ethics officer, human resources representative.
Lotta, what are you
Where is
saying? I'm
that?
sorry, what are you saying?
I'm so sorry, in number 5, reporting of violations, directors, officers, and employees should promptly report any violations of this policy to their supervisors. So directors, I think we shouldn't have any supervisors.
Yeah,
It should be all
that's
to
the
the,
proper step in state government.
yeah, but directors, what
Well,
supervisors?
You go to your
We don't-
supervisor first unless you can.
We don't have one, but it says or to the ethics officer.
Okay.
So for us, it would be the ethics officer.
Right.
For a officer or employee, they would go to their supervisor.
Your supervisor first. Unless that person's a problem.
Right, in which
Yeah.
case, they go to the ethics
Then
officer.
the supervisor then go to ethics officer.
Correct, yeah.
So we take out if any.
Yeah,
We did.
we do have.
We did.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're in-
All right. Last, hoo-hoo.
Okay.
Number 6, under penalties. Perhaps the lawyer could opine on whether the board typically has a role in discipline, or if that too is COLIC's domain. So outside counsel's response was, we generally do recommend that the board is able to have a role in discipline. Number 6, penalties leaves open the possibility of a range of disciplinary measures, including involvement of COLIC. So it seems fine to include regardless of whether in practice, most disciplinary action gets escalated to COLIC. We note that the OEBO model policy simply says any director, officer, or employee that fails to comply with this policy may be penalized in the manner provided for in law, rules, and regulations. This item can be revised by the board if it wishes. And just leave it. I
Yeah,
think
but.
that's,
yeah.
the response is leave it. Do you want to leave it?
Any director, officer, or employee.
I would just change that to who, any director, officer, employee who fails, instead
Who?
of that fails.
In Illinois.
Yeah.
So we change it to who, to make it
So,
grammatically
yeah,
correct?
we have that edit, yeah.
There you go.
I think there's, the language in the ABO policy says, any director, officer, or employee that fails, I don't know why that, not who, that fails to comply with this policy may be penalized in the manner provided for in law, rules, and regulations. Here, we're adding the discipline functions to the board, and that was the question from Morris.
Morris, right. Are we giving the
Codify
board-
whether the
yeah.
board typically has a role in discipline.
Or
It depends.
policy, just in.
It also depends, if it's like board appointed this person, well, it's only, then it's probably board has the some say in discipline, but if it concerns employees, just mid-level employees, the board should not be, if there's a laws, rules of the.
Well, that's why it says may.
Yeah, why don't we, they noted that the ABO model says that the discipline should come in the manner that's consistent with law, rules, and regulations. Why don't, instead of as determined by the board, disciplined as, it's penalized in the manner provided in law, rules, or regulations, like. So if
I would
it's,
just
if it's a
keep the-
director, then the board would get involved. If it's an employee, that would be a management issue. No?
It seems okay with me. Did you, what kind of language?
I don't know
will it take?
how, in CLM's notes, it says any director, officer, or employee that fails to comply with this policy may be penalized in the manner provided for in law, rules, and regulations.
So you just wanna
why don't
change it
we
that?
just add that?
Yes, in ABO's version that's also in front of you, in section penalties, in addition to any penalties contained in any other provision of law, an authority director, executive director, or employee who knowingly intentionally violates any provisions of this code may be removed in the manner provided in law, rules, and regulations.
I think this was just to say if there's a case that we don't have a rule or regulation for, the board still have the option of doing taking some kind of disciplinary action
Yeah, I think it gives much more
to
discretion.
the board.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere where the board is prohibited from doing that. So even if we remove this language, if the board felt it necessary to step in, the board could.
Yeah, the bylaws
Right, that's what
allow
the-
it.
Provided for in law, rules, or regulations. Yeah, that leaves it open to the best case and the best position to make the discipline action. Like, not specifying just the board determines the penalty is like the discipline is not, I don't think, appropriate. And it's also getting into, management issues that we're trying to steer away from. Like,
Yeah,
if it's a bus driver, I don't think the board should determine the discipline.
no, we wouldn't be involved in that.
I'm just saying if there's no rule or regulation that the person violated, if there's something we haven't thought of, it gives the board the option of stepping in.
Yeah, but again, it depends on the level of the person involved.
Whatever level, if there's a supervisor who thinks the guy's okay, but he was driving drunk or whatever, and we don't have a specific rule or regulation that says he can't, which of course we would, but I mean, if there's something like that, and the board wants to step in, I think they should have that option.
No, we
They
are
should have
only
to.
talking here about ethical violations
Ethics.
here. And some
Yeah, this
specific-
isn't-
Not any other.
Okay, so ethical gets even
Ethical
hairier,
is
they
money,
told somebody something they
interest.
shouldn't have, and the guy didn't think it was a big deal, but the board does think it's a big deal, or something like, all I'm saying is, there are instances that may not be covered by specific rules or regulations. If we end up in court, a good lawyer would say, he didn't violate any rule or regulation. You had no right to do it.
Actually, ethics more so, the board should
More
be
so the
involved
board,
than, you came late every day. I mean, ethics could be,
Right,
I
yeah.
took the bus and I
I just
took
brought
my
the bus
family
thing up
off
to
on
that, right.
a beach trip. So
Yeah.
ethics frankly seems more, if need be, something for the board to be involved with.
Yeah, it's.
I just don't see how it can hurt to leave it in. It gives them the option.
He didn't fill out his time sheet, or they didn't fill out their time sheet.
Right.
But it's not ethical, like, kind of.
No, but ethics is money, or absconding with a bus, or using a facility, which we've had on this island,
We
for
have.
private parties.
Yep.
Those are all ethical issues.
Yeah, I mean, I see Morris's point, just as determined by the board is the troubled language.
Exactly. 'cause
Mhm.
it's
Yeah, the board will
Right,
restrict that,
right.
and
Yeah.
then the board will be,
Right.
yeah, named.
And what I'm saying is if you take that out, it doesn't preclude the board from becoming involved if
Right.
Yeah.
you feel
Exactly.
we should. But it doesn't leave it solely with the board.
Right, so if we make
That
that
also
edit,
doesn't feel right.
right, right.
But precisely because it's ethics and not day-to-day.
I mean, to
me,
it's falling into
Hold on a second, only one person speaking, I'm sorry.
I mean, my complaint, I shouldn't even use the word complaint, but I have a disagreement with us, and I agree with Morris in not using that terminology because I feel that if we have a CEO, it's the CEO's job to do certain things, and it's not our duty to micromanage everything or micromanage the forum.
Mhm.
And that's the point of having the CEO, is not the board's job. Now, I know if there's a problem, the board will step in. I am sure of that. But I don't think that we should write anything that takes away the authority of the CEO. That's my opinion.
Yeah, so we have this, we struck out that language that goes along with what you just said. So we're removing ourselves expressly from the situation. And just saying, if you violate this, you're subject to penalties according to whatever the law says.
Because you took it out of that violation part here.
Yeah.
For this section.
Yeah.
And again, we're not precluded from acting if we feel we should.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I think this addresses Morris's concern.
okay. I think that's good. Is everybody happy with this?
Yeah.
Let's go around.
Yep.
Conway, are you good?
Circle back to me, I'll.
Megan, all the changes that you saw, are you okay with it?
Can I just, on the ones we just did, I'm just looking at it, reading it again. I think we're a little redundant. So we say any person or whatever fails to comply with this policy may be subject to discipline and may also be subject to penalties. Never mind. I'm good. Now I say it out loud. We're fine. I'm good.
Okay,
Needed to
this-
walk it through.
okay, fantastic. Okay, Megan's good, with the caveat that Lotta's gonna go through and neutralize the language,
Wonderful.
okay? Gender neutral the language. That's what you're doing, and are you doing anything else other than gender
I think all the
neutralizing?
changes Council already included, so
We
we
did.
just make sure that it's,
Okay,
We did, yeah.
even though it will change something directly from the public offices law, section 74, but we will change it, yes.
okay, Conway, are you okay with everything?
Yeah, so far, so good, yeah. I'm just redoing one section, give me a second.
I'm passing this around, sorry guys, I've been like, inhaling this stuff.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
We didn't make any changes to Roman numeral 2.
do we need to?
No, I'm just, because
We did
we
not.
thought it was in a weird place, and then we kind of like.
Yeah, I think I was reading the order improperly, so I think we're fine there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm okay with everything, so if we're all okay with everything,
Hang on 1 second.
I'm gonna just go through. Conway and Megan, are you okay with presenting the document as revised after Lotta gender neutralizes everything to the board at the next board meeting for approval?
Yeah, you taking a vote?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Aye.
that's fine.
yes, okay, so that's it. After you gender neutralize everything, Lotta, if you would send it to the board members
Of course.
here,
Mhm.
all the board members.
Yeah.
Then we'll present it at the board meeting for approval, okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. It's now 7:20.
Not bad.
Yeah, well, we didn't
I thought it was gonna go on till 8:30.
And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for coming, appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Stop recording.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone.
I could actually end